Once upon a time, while the world was still new, when the wind was still green, when hope rose with every dawn, and when not all the stories had yet been told, a great contest was held to determine who was the strongest and swiftest, and he who proved victor would be declared champion of the world, and a prize, a belt of hammered gold, would be his. Now, on that appointed day, the people came from all the faraway places and gathered together in a great crowd to watch and wager and cheer on their favorites. And each man, spurred on by his pride, ran the race of his life. And yet, in defeat, inevitably, many a young heart was broken. For in the heel of that day, only one man remained undefeated, and it was he, and he alone, who was called into the winner's circle, and the prize was his. He thrust it in the air. The crowd's throat roared its approval. He was indeed the world's champion. Then the people grew silent, for they wished to hear him speak. But before he could give tongue to his words, something strange, unexpected happened. An old man in the crowd shuffled forward, and in a weak and quavering voice issued a challenge to the new champion. Well, those who could hear him laughed. Surely this old man must be in jest, for he was wizened and bent upon a stick, a thing of pity, but nothing more. Still, the old man persisted, and again he challenged the champion. But this time, there was a bite to his words. "Oh, why do you hesitate? Is there great fear upon you, O great champion?" Now, truth to be told, the young man was of little patience, and he regarded this old man as a fool, an annoyance, and a bad taste in the mouth of his victory. Still, he wanted to put a good face on it, and so smiling falsely, he said, "Grandfather, I'm sure that in your youth you ran with the swiftest, but you don't realize time has played a cruel trick upon you. He has changed you into tattered rags upon a stick." "Time? Time, you say?" the old man replied. "Well, I say it's time you tried me." Now the young man's anger flared. "Old man, you are a fool. Be gone. Go chase a snail if you will, but bother me no more. I am the world's champion. No man is my match. I can even outrun the wind. While you creep along on your belly like a turtle. I've done with you. Get you gone." "Oh, you may have done with me," the old man said, "but I have just begun with you. And I say, you have no right to call yourself champion till you have matched your stride against mine." Oh, absurd, ridiculous. And there were many in the crowd who began to murmur against this old man's foolishness. But there were others who took up his cause, perhaps to have a bit of fun. But for whatever their reason, they began to call out loudly that this old man be given his chance, and they would not be silenced till they had driven the champion once more to the line. And so, the most absurd and ridiculous race of that day began between swift youth and feeble age. Now, at first, The champion set a snail's pace, strolling leisurely about, accepting the cheers and well wishes of his many admirers. The old man, hobbling painfully at his side, welcomed these pauses. They allowed him to catch his breath, lean a moment on his stick. But soon the young man became bored with this nonsense, and he took a brisker pace. The old man stayed at his side, but he staggered and stumbled, and with every tottering step he took, he appeared as though he were going to topple over. At this point, some in the crowd turned away out of embarrassment and pity for the old man's condition. But others, as there always are, took delight in his near pratfalls and miraculous recoveries, and they laughed openly as he staggered about like a drunken clown. For in spite of his age, with its expected infirmities, there was something exaggerated, even humorous, in the stutterings of his motions. Well, all this the young man found greatly annoying, and thinking to put this foolishness once and for all behind him, he broke into a trot. To his amazement, the old man remained with him, and seized by a sudden apprehension, he began to run. Now it really was a race. The young champion ran on till his lungs burst into fire. He ran on till his muscles were strained beyond endurance. He ran on now, driven by sheer terror, for he sensed that this old man, still at his side, staggering and stumbling, was no natural thing. And to confirm his worst fears, as they neared the line, suddenly the old man moved forward in a burst of speed as though propelled by an unseen force. He crossed the line, a whirlwind of motion. The old man had left the champion of the world in a cloud of dust. Well, the people were silent, and a great fear fell on them. For what they had just seen was either a miracle or magic, and no one could be sure which. Now the old man stood before them and gave no indication of who or what he was, just an old man leaning on his stick, not even breathing hard. But no one in that crowd dare approach him and ask him his name. And then, right before their eyes, he vanished as though into the air. But the wonders of that day had not ceased. For now, out of the very air itself came a voice. tattered rags. I am not a snail, nor am I a turtle. I am not a man. The wind! And no man can outrun me. Oh, how dare you! How dare you! How dare you deny to me the prize, the honor that is mine alone. Oh. For your arrogance and conceit, I will blow your houses down, your barns and granaries, your buildings of government and commerce, your temples and palaces. But I won't stop there. I will strip the fruit from your trees and lay flat the grain in your fields. I won't stop there. I will scatter your flocks and herds. So many dry leaves before me. And only after I have done all these things, terrible, will I turn on you, fools. Arrogant fools. Fools. Now the people could not see the wind, but they could hear and feel his fury. And they threw themselves on the ground and begged his mercy. But the wind paid them no heed, nor did his anger cool. He puffed himself up big and was just about to expel the first breath of death and destruction when he saw that out of that great multitude there remained one still standing upright before him, a comely maid with scarlet locks, a wondrous cloak about her shoulders. The maid faced the wind and raised her arms in supplication. "O great, breathtaking everlasting, she called, before you would destroy these people. A boon I ask of you. Now this maid was of such breathtaking beauty that she stopped even the wind's breath. And he looked upon her in amazement and wonder. Speak, that I may know your mind, the wind said. O dread ruler of the skies, I ask that the dispute between you and these people be resolved by one final contest. And who would oppose me? I would, cloud driver. You would dare question my supremacy? And the wind swirled about and raised great clouds of dust, terrorizing the cowering people. Never, great master, the maid replied, would I question your supremacy, for all here acknowledge that no man or woman can outrun the wind. But have you not heard it said that the race is not always to the swiftest, nor the prize to the victor? And would you have it said of you that you refused a woman's challenge? The air grew still as the wind puzzled out the meaning in her words. She spoke well for one so fair and seeming young. The people too held their breath. Now they did not know this woman with the scarlet locks, but they prayed that her beauty and her words alone would be enough to spare them the wind's wrath. Truth to tell, this maiden was one of the 7 redheads, 4 brothers and 3 sisters, who roamed this world, and some say still roam it, from the time before time began. She was the sister of the silver hands, so named because her hands flashed like silver as she sat at her loom. A weaver of unsurpassed skills, for only she could weave the strands of light, and within her cloth is found the radiance of sunlight, the magic of moonlight, and the mystery of the pale stars above. Now the wind was of 2 minds, and he juggled these 2 thoughts between them. He desired revenge upon these people who had so dishonored him. And at the same time, he felt a growing desire for the maid, for she was pleasing to look upon. And so he went from desire to revenge, desire, revenge, desire. And then a new thought came into his mind. Yes, why not have both? First the maid and then his revenge. For he was a tricky fellow, never one to keep his words. And so he replied, Maiden, I grant your boon on this condition, that at the conclusion of this race, of which I naturally will win, that you consent to become my bride without delay. The people looked at the maid. How would she reply? Their fate hung on her words. The maiden blushed becomingly. "Oh, great sky ruler," she said, "I find your condition most agreeable." And faster than I could say, the wind transformed himself from air into a handsome youth of unsurpassed qualities. Oh, the people gave a great sigh of relief, for it was obvious that the wind was now blowing in another direction. And so, the most wondrous and amazing race of all that day began. Between the handsome youth and the fair maid. So gracefully did they run that it was a joy to behold them, swifter than deer without apparent thought or effort, and so harmonious in their motions and stride that they appeared as one. And so pleased was the wind with the maid that he could not bear to be parted from her. And so he planned to win this race by one footstep. And so he would have, if it had not been for the cleverness of the maid. For as they approached the finish line, suddenly she stuck out her foot and tripped him up. He stretched forth his hand to catch himself, and the instant it touched earth, her cloak was off her shoulders and around him, and quickly she did gather it up and bind it fast. The wind was in the bag. Oh, did he rage and storm and threaten the most terrible curses. He puffed himself up big, but he could not blow himself out, for the threads of light could stretch and stretch and stretch and not be broken. The maid's silver hands held up the blustering bag of wind to the people. "What would you have me do with this fellow?" she asked. And as she spoke, she transformed into a woman of wit and maturity. Oh, great lady," the people cried in one voice. "Whatever you do, do not let him out. He's an ill wind that blows no good. Oh, he fans fire's flames. At sea he raises great waves, sinks our ships. On land he rages and storms about, blows our houses down. He drives the black storm clouds across the sky that flood our fields and drown our towns. And in winter his chill breath is death to man and beast. Lady, whatever you do, do not let him out. Do not let him out. He is an ill wind that blows no good." Now Silver Hands turned to the wind. "Great master," she called, "you have heard these people. What have you to say?" "Fools!" The wind roared and the bag grew mightily. "Fools! Without my breath, your fires will smolder and go out. Without my breath, fill their sails. Your ships will never reach port. Without my breath, turn your mills, your corn will not be ground. And I do not drive the storm clouds across the sky. Your fields will be parched and dry. And if I chill in winter, I cool in summer fools without my breath. You will perish. Oh, now, in spite of their great fear, the people could hear the truth in the wind's words. And they began to plead and bargain with him. Oh, great master, they called. Oh, we'll loose your bonds, of course. If only you promise to only blow for good. Not ill, only good. Never, the wind replied, for I was born free, and free I will remain. No man's hand will tame me. Yes, but master, great master, the people said, we can't free you. We can't let you out if you won't promise. Then you have seen the last of me, the wind replied. I leave you to your doom. And the bag shrank and shrank and shrank until it was the size of a walnut. Oh, the people were beside themselves. Oh, what can we do? What can we do? If we let him out, we are destroyed. And if we don't let him out, we are destroyed. In their desperation, they turned to Silverhands. Great lady, please help us. Silverhands looked at the people. I can't tame the wind, she said, nor can I change the capriciousness of his ways. But perhaps there is something that I can do that will soften his blow. And so saying, she took her cloak and she went to the east, and there she squeezed out just enough to form the east wind. And then she went to the south and did the same into the west, and finally to the north, where she shook out what remained. And after that, wrapping her cloak about her, she went back to her loom, where some say she weaves still. Furious at being tricked by this red-haired woman, and they breathed a foul revenge upon her and upon the world and all in the world. And they came together. They huffed and puffed, and they blew up the greatest storm the world had ever known. Was a storm of utter destruction. They blew foundation, it was spared. For the four winds, although terrible and mighty, were not united as one in thought and deed. For each was independent and freedom-loving. He could not long agree with his brothers, and so soon they began to quarrel among themselves. And then they gave it up altogether. And the great storm of utter destruction subsided, and the world and all in it was spared. And from that day to this, there have been four winds in the world. And each wanders where he will and does as he pleases. Sometimes he blows for good, and sometimes for ill. And why that should be, no one can say. It's a mystery, like the pale stars above. Or like the lady of the silver hands.
Thank you.